Do they get any of this?
Yep, they get a little bit more than half of in here. And then just in one of the containers, no, one dish. And then milk goes in the other. And then we're drying off Daisy because she's calving in April. So that's what we're going to talk about today, because she's a high producing Jersey and she doesn't want to quit, but she needs to quit and be dry for at least 60 days before calving to give her body a chance to recoup and build up some colostrum for her new calf. So that's why it's important to know when your cows are bred and when they're expected to calve again. Daisy comes from high producing dairy genetics, so she won't dry herself off. I have to do it. We're going to talk about that today. Wind chill today is probably in the single digits. I know it's in the teens outside right now, Fahrenheit. And yeah, it seems like it would be extraordinarily cold to milk, but Daisy produces a lot of heat, so it's actually not too bad. Kind of cuddled up right here beside her. So, drying off our cow, and some people would call her a first-time heifer because this is her first lactation. She has actually not reached her full potential yet. Being a first-time heifer just means that she's had one baby. This is her first lactation, so we don't know how she manages things, how she handles, being milked. We don't know how easy she is to dry off. There's a lot of unknowns in being first time. So it's time to dry her off. We're learning it with her because that's just what we have to do with first timers. Each cow is a little different. But Daisy here is still, she's supposed to be dried off in 2 weeks. I'd like to have her dried off by February. She's still producing just over 2 gallons at a milking, and I only milk her once a day. Her milk is very thick and rich. It's not what it's what I would expect to see at this time of year as far as cream line goes. Not what I would expect to see for a cow that's drying off. So how to dry off a cow when you've never done it before. That's really important. If you do it wrong, you end up with mastitis or a lot of other problems. We got Daisy down to just once a day milking. The cold weather helped slow her production, so then we took advantage of that and stopped milking in the evening, because in the evening she was only giving us about 3/4 of a gallon. And then just went 2 mornings and she did great. Okay, but now we got to dry her off. So how am I going to do that? She's getting about, I would say 2 to 3 pounds of alfalfa pellets that I soak in a 5-gallon food grade bucket overnight. So the bucket, by the time she gets it, is all fluffy alfalfa pellets, and it's about half full. So she gets that, and then 2 scoops, large scoops of sweet feed and 2 scoops of corn or dairy ration, whatever we've got on hand. And then, and she's producing really well. She's got nice thick fat covering on her. Can't see her ribs at all. So she's doing great. But it's time to slow her up. So the first thing I'm going to do to slow her up is back off on her alfalfa. Think about it. The alfalfa produces protein. That goes directly into milk production. The corn and sweet feed, those are just carbs. Like what carbs would do for us, it goes to fat. I want her to have fat because I want her to stay warm in these temperatures. But at the same time, she's good now. She's got a nice thick coat. She's very well covered. We've got a good, solid round bale of hay out in the pasture for them. They've got this barn to keep them warm out of the draft. So we'll back her alfalfa down, and over the course of probably 3 or 4 days, we'll get her down to no alfalfa. Next comes the corn. The corn's just empty carbs. And I'll reduce that. Now she's going to have to go through the learning curve of learning to stand still when she's got her treats all gone. So she's going to have to learn to be good. But even then, her body's going to pick up on what's happening, and she's going to start slowing up. So I'm going to get her down to the point where she has just a tiniest, what would fit in one hand, of sweet feed, just as a reward for, you come into the stanchion and you get sweet feed. Otherwise, I'm not going to get her into the stanchion. So that'll be over the course of a week or 2, depending on how she does. If I see that her production is starting to slow up, we'll keep going. I'll be watching her for mastitis, but she's not going to get mastitis just by me slowing up on her feed. They get loose minerals, so, all good things there. And then I'm thinking in about a week to 2 weeks of doing this process, she'll be down to about 1.5 gallons, maybe even 1 gallon a day. And then I'll be giving her hay in her tray, just to kind of occupy her, make her happy. But it won't be alfalfa. Now that's really important. Before calving, they should not have alfalfa. And you can check this. It's one thing if there's a little bit of alfalfa in their hay. It's grass alfalfa mix. That's fine. But straight alfalfa, absolutely a no-no. And before calving, they really shouldn't be on any grain because you don't want them to, the corn and the grain is going to encourage edema and not good. So basically you want them on a fairly poor ration of stemmy dry hay. It prevents the calf that she's carrying from getting too big for her. I seriously doubt that that's going to be an issue with our tiny little bull. He produces very small calves.
He raised me.
So probably about the time that Daisy is, when she's down to the point where she's producing less than 1 gallon a day at a milking, I'll go longer and longer in between milkings. Like I'll skip, instead of milking her at 9, I'll milk her at 11. And I'll do that for about 2 days. And then after that, I'll go to, move it to 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. 2 days maybe. And then after that, I'll skip a day and see how she does. Once I get her down to about 1/2 gallon consistently, then I can just stop. But I need to always watch for clumps, and those last couple of milkings I wouldn't recommend hanging on to. For whatever reason, I've been told they the quality of the milk changes. And you're going to see your cream line increase so much, but it's not the quality sweet cream that you really want. So we just give it to our chickens. And then she's dried up, and she will not be allowed in the stanchion at all. That's when I notice that she fills up. Her milk lets down when I'm washing her here in the stanchion. So if I keep her away from the stanchion, then it's not going to encourage her to fill up. I can check her out in pasture, kind of pet her, see how the udder's doing. That's not going to stimulate her for letdown. So just keep your cow away from anything that would normally be associated with being milked so that she's not stimulated to let down. She's due in April. I want her in great condition. She's a great mom.
Dried off?
Huh?
When does she have to be dried off?
First or second week of February, but she's not wanting to dry off at all. She wants to just keep right on going.
That's Daisy.
Some people will ask a question, a very valid question, when they're just starting out hand milking. How do you know when the cow is done? Well, you want to kind of pull from the top and then pull down. If you're only getting a tiny little squirt and that's about it, and the udder feels loose, that's not going to happen at the beginning. But if it starts to feel really loose and floppy, and you're really not able to get anything else, no matter how hard you try, yeah, she's empty. Girl, you want So what we're doing right now is we're getting our yogurt done. The top layer of this yogurt, cold culture yogurt, is all the cream, of course, just like you would find in your milk. The top layer, though, is really sour cream. And it's just as thick as the thickest sour cream you've ever had.
Yeah.
It smells like the Daisy brand sour cream.
Actually, it smells better to me.
It has a very sweet, wonderful flavor, and it'll last a while in the fridge, but this is how we make sour cream. And then the yogurt is underneath the sour cream, and it's almost like a Greek-style yogurt. I would venture to say that if you were to blend all of this together, you'd have lovely Greek yogurt. But I really like having my sour cream and having my yogurt. We can use the sour cream on Sunday, too.
Oh, yeah, that's a great idea.
So she's just going through, and it's pretty easy to separate because the sour cream is really thick and kind of hard, and the yogurt is nice and soft underneath. And there's definitely a change in the layers, so you'll see that. If you get a little bit of yogurt in your sour cream, that's okay.
There's not a whole lot of difference. They both came from the same thing.
Right. So you're going to get probably half a gallon of sour cream from this.
I can't tell the difference between sour cream.
You have not hit the yogurt. Here, I'll show you.
Are you sure that's not yogurt? I think
That's yogurt. Do you see
Okay.
the difference?
I see a difference in color. That's almost cheese.
That's yogurt.
Oh my goodness, that's so good.
Okay.
Oh my goodness, that's so good.
Can you see how the yogurt is just a little bit whiter than the sour cream? The sour cream is just a little bit more yellow.
Okay.
So we're
Like
having
sour
yogurt
cream
for
is-
breakfast this morning.
Yeah.
Whoa, this is like really Greek style yogurt. So this is the yogurt from my cold culture. And this is reaching all the way down to the bottom of my pan. That's some serious, serious yogurt, guys. This is late lactation. I did about 1.5 gallons of yogurt, cold culture. I'm going to make some more today. So this is like the end of the process. So I'll show you the beginning of the process when I make my next batch of yogurt today. And it usually takes me a few days, but what I really love about this method of doing yogurt is that I kind of consider it a lazy person's way of doing yogurt, because I can let it do its thing, walk away from it, and go about my life, you know, from crisis to crisis management, sort of, and then come back to it and, you know, separate it, put it into jars. So once it's done, it takes about 24 hours, 24 to 30 hours, depending on what, you know, your life is like, in my Instapot. And I set it for the yogurt setting, and then I walk away and leave it. And then 30 hours later, I'll come back, take the lid off, put some tin foil on top of my container here, and then stick it in the fridge. And it's been there for just a few days. You know, it's not hurting anything. It's no different than if it was all separated. But what I've discovered happens is that by sitting in the fridge for a few days, the culture continues. So now I'm coming back to this a few days later, and it is as thick as Greek-style yogurt. There's nothing drinkable about this yogurt at all. Now, some of that may have to do with late lactation milk. It is higher in cream. You know, I don't know. I know that this is from my A2A2 cow, from Daisy. So the yogurt is the highest quality yogurt I could ever hope to have. And it's made from, you know, it absorbed whatever bacteria was here in my home to make the probiotics to help fight against that. I use a starter culture. It's just a store brand, organic, grass-fed, plain yogurt. And I'll do about a half a cup per gallon of milk for starter culture. So gallon and a half, I usually use about 3/4 of a cup of starter culture. Whisk that into my cold milk, hit the yogurt button, walk away. Come back to it a day and a half later, put it in the fridge, come back to it again a couple days later, and then start this whole process here. But there's my sour cream. And I've got a ton of yogurt here that is just going to be lovely to add some raw honey to it, and add maybe some nuts or, you know, granola or some fruit, or if you have a natural jam that you like to add to it, you know, you can do anything you want with this. It is very, very thick. It's some of the thickest, I think this is the thickest yogurt I've ever made. But I definitely know I like the cold culture method, and I'm going to make some later on today and let you see how really easy that is. Now, somebody asked me a couple days ago, how do you make it if you have a crock pot and you don't have an Instapot? I have not done the cold culture method with a crock pot or even an oven, but I have made yogurt before from raw milk with just a crock pot, and I've just used the warm setting. Don't do the low setting. I did that, destroyed it. Do the warm setting and do that for probably 8 hours, and then turn it off and leave it. Leave it covered, don't disturb it, leave it. And the biggest thing is you don't want to cook your yogurt. So I would not let it get over 120 degrees. I'm comfortable about 100 to 115, somewhere in there, but not 120. About 120, I feel like I'm starting to kill the bacteria, and I'm starting to kill the culture. And the culture likes warm environment, and it's going to feed on the sugars in the milk, and that's how it reproduces and colonizes. If you get it too hot, you're going to kill that bacteria. But too cold, it's too sleepy. So it likes a warm environment. Even in the refrigerator, though, once it has a nice colony going, it does continue to culture, just more slowly, as I'm seeing with this super thick yogurt here. All right, I'm going to bottle all of this up, jar it up, label it, and sit down and have some yummy yogurt for breakfast, and then we'll get some more yogurt started. All right, let's talk about making yogurt. How do you start off with the cold culture, or how I do it? I've got 3 jars, half-gallon jars. No, Lord, Melody does not want you to use that jelly. That was her Christmas present. You can use any of the others. I've got 3 half-gallon jars. Yep, that's fine. And this is Daisy's milk, late lactation. Her cream line is roughly about down to here. So it's not, she's not a really huge cream producer like Annabelle was. Annabelle was amazing. But, you know, it's very decent. So I'm not going to complain. All right, then I'm going to pour these 3 jars into my crock pot Express. It's like crock pot's version of Instapot. I wash this silicone seal, make sure that it does not smell bad, because any smell is bacteria. It can get into your yogurt and make your yogurt taste kind of funky. So I wash that real well. My starter culture is Stonyfield Organic Greek, and it's plain whole milk. So that's, you know, it's what I use. I like the Greek because it does seem to make my yogurt a lot thicker. I'm going to shake up my milk really, really well to incorporate the cream so that I do get the cream into the milk, and it will still rise to the top once I'm done culturing. So my milk is from Sunday, and today is Thursday. So it's not super fresh, but it's still very sweet, very fresh smelling. I keep it downstairs in our basement in our very cold refrigerator.
The basement's at a decent temperature right now, actually. I went down there earlier today.
So this is going to be the yogurt I'm using. It's nice and thick. And generally speaking, it's about a 1/4 cup of starter culture per 1/2 gallon of milk. So I'm going to be using about 3/4 of a cup of starter culture in here. Now I have not tried making my yogurt from my own starter culture. One of these days I got to try that. I've made the mistake before, and somebody taught me not to do that. There is such a thing as too much starter culture, because then you've got too much of a colony going, so it'll crowd itself out and it won't really develop or colonize. But you also don't want too little. And I found for me, the sweet spot is about 3/4 of a cup of starter culture. Now you can see I'm not measuring because, you know, I think there is some forgiveness there. I'm going to whisk it all up. And granted, still all of this is still cold. What I think helps is that my starter culture is cold, my milk is cold, so it's not shocking the starter by me adding it to warm milk. And I know in the past when I've done standard regular yogurt, you're supposed to take out some of the milk at a certain phase and carefully add the starter culture, whisk it all in, and then pour it back in and mix it all in. And that got to be a real big pain. So I just do it all at once and then whisk it, and then I'll kind of test my whisk to see if I'm getting clumps, which I am. I'm not really getting any more clumps, so I think we're good. All right. That's it. I'm going to put the lid on it. Hit yogurt, hit start, and then I'll be done tomorrow afternoon, evening, or whatever, something like that. I will take this off and then cover my little pot, take it downstairs and put it in the fridge for a day or two. So this should be ready probably by Sunday. You know, Saturday or Sunday should be fine. I think the longer I leave it, obviously not too long, I don't want to be having sour milk or sour yogurt, but the longer I leave it, even if I left it until Monday, that would be when it's really cultured to its maximum potential. You know, it's really nice. I can go get my grocery shopping done. I can go take care of the animals if I have to. I can do whatever I have to do, and my yogurt is just going to do what it's supposed to do. And I love this about yogurt because it's going to do what it's going to naturally do, and then I benefit. My whole family benefits from that natural process. So, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Even my butter, and I've got a video on how I make butter using my blender. That butter never gets heated up. It's taken straight from raw milk. Skim the cream off of it, and then it's put into the blender, and then it's put into the fridge or the freezer. So my butter never gets heated, my sour cream never gets heated, my yogurt never gets heated, our milk never gets heated. The only thing that would get heated would be like cheese, and I'm hoping this coming year to learn more about making cheese. So that's something I'm going to be experimenting with, and I'll definitely try to take you guys along in that journey. So far I've made farmer's cheese, which did not turn out well at all, and I'm sure I did it all wrong. It tasted terrible, and it was about the consistency of rubber, so that was not fun. But I've also made mozzarella, and that's turned out halfway decent. It was nice. So anyway, this is how I make yogurt. I hope it's been very helpful for you. And stay tuned because there's more coming up. I'm getting ready to, here probably sometime in February, I'm going to start preparations to get my seeds started for my garden, and my plan is to have it downstairs in the basement, but I still have to figure out a way to keep mice and rats out of there, and I think that's going to be including my cats going down to the basement anytime they want. I think that's going to help a lot. So I'm going to get that started here pretty soon. And we've got calving season coming up in March. So, and I've got about 8 more garden beds, raised garden beds that I need to build. And then we start into the meat bird season with the turkeys, new pigs. Oh, and we still have to slaughter the other 2 pigs that we retained from this last butcher season. And yeah, so I'm planning to make a video on how to run electric fence for those of you who just would like kind of a dumbed down version of how to do electric fencing, because I remember when I started doing the electric fencing there were no videos on how to do that. So I want to do a video on that, and actually a step-by-step, because I have to redo some of the electric out there in my pasture anyway. Okay, stay tuned, subscribe to the channel so that you can be kept up to date with all the latest and the greatest, and send me a like, thumbs up. That's always wonderful. I always love seeing those thumbs up because that's just really encouraging to me. And then send me a comment, other videos, topics that you'd like to learn about. If you have questions, send me a question. And for those of you that are in Michigan, if you want to give me a shout out, we can schedule a time for you to come on out and meet my beautiful cowgirls, Daisy and Minnie, not my daughters, and just kind of get to know them. And I will even give you a chance to learn how to milk a cow with me. And I've had lots of kids learn how to milk a cow with me, so it's a great family activity. So give me a shout out, and I will see you soon. And have a wonderful day. Happy farming, everybody.